November 2020, 1963, 12:30 in the afternoon. The most powerful man on earth is sitting in an open car. No roof, no protection, waving at a crowd of thousands lining the streets. 80 seconds later, he is dead. 3 shots. One man with a rifle on the 6th floor of a building. A moving car. A crowd of thousands watching. And somehow, 60 years later, the United States government still has not released all of the files from that day. Let that sink in. 60 years. The most investigated assassination in human history. More books written about it than almost any other single event. More witnesses, more evidence, more footage. And the government still says, not yet, you cannot see everything. Today, we go through everything. The shots. The bullet that should not have been possible. The man who was killed before he could speak. The autopsy that broke the law. And the files that are still locked away. This is the full dark truth of Dallas. November 2020, 1963. Stay with me, because nothing about this story is as simple as you were told. John Fitzgerald Kennedy was 46 years old on the day he died. He was the youngest man ever elected president of the United States. The first Catholic president. A war hero who had nearly died in the Pacific during World War II when his boat was destroyed by a Japanese destroyer, and he swam for hours to save his surviving crew members. By 1963, he had navigated the Cuban Missile Crisis. 13 days in October 1962, where the world came closer to nuclear war than it has ever been before or since. He had stared down the Soviet Union and pulled the planet back from the edge. He was charismatic in a way that American politics had never seen before. His press conferences were televised live. People watched them like entertainment. His wife Jackie was considered the most elegant first lady in American history. They were young, glamorous, and powerful in a way that felt almost unreal. But Kennedy also had enemies. Serious, powerful enemies. The CIA was furious at him after the failed Bay of Pigs invasion in Cuba. They blamed him for pulling air support at the last minute. The Mafia had helped get him elected, and felt he had betrayed them when his brother Robert Kennedy began prosecuting organized crime. Cold War hardliners thought he was too soft on the Soviets. And in the American South, his support for civil rights had made him deeply unpopular with powerful political figures. On November 21, 1963, Kennedy flew to Texas for a political trip. His advisors had warned him that Dallas was dangerous, that the political climate there was hostile, that the trip carried risk. Kennedy went anyway. The next morning, his motorcade route through downtown Dallas was published in every local newspaper, including the exact streets, the exact turns, the exact timing. Before we get to the shots, if this kind of real history is what you're here for, subscribe right now and hit the bell. I upload a brand new dark history story every single day. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers, and every single person who subscribes right now keeps these stories coming. 2 seconds. Subscribe. Bell. Done. Now back to Dallas, because what happened in that motorcade is not what most people think. Once 12:29 p.m. The presidential motorcade turns onto Elm Street in Dealey Plaza. The crowd is enormous, people lining both sides of the street. Cheering, waving, some holding signs. Kennedy is waving back, Jackie beside him in a pink suit. Texas Governor John Connally and his wife in the seat in front. The car passes the Texas School Book Depository building on the right. 12:30, the first shot. Kennedy reacts, his hands moving toward his throat. The bullet had entered the back of his neck and exited through his throat. He slumps forward but does not fall. In the seat in front, Governor Connally is hit. A bullet has gone through his back, through his chest, through his wrist, and lodged in his thigh. The second shot misses entirely. Then the third, the fatal shot. It strikes Kennedy in the back of the head. The impact is catastrophic and immediate. Kennedy falls sideways into Jackie's lap. The Secret Service agent in the front seat is already climbing onto the back of the car. Jackie, covered in blood, is trying to hold her husband's head together with her hands. The motorcade accelerates toward Parkland Memorial Hospital. The entire sequence from first shot to last took less than 9 seconds. At Parkland Hospital, doctors worked on Kennedy for 30 minutes. Trauma surgeons who saw the wounds that day later said that the head wound was unsurvivable from the moment it happened. There was nothing anyone could have done. At 1 p.m., President John F. Kennedy was pronounced dead. He was 46 years old. Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested 70 minutes after the shooting inside a movie theater in Dallas. He was a former U.S. Marine who had defected to the Soviet Union, then returned to America. He worked in the Texas School Book Depository, the building the motorcade had passed directly beneath. The Warren Commission, the official government investigation, concluded that Oswald acted alone. 3 shots from the 6th floor window. 1 assassin, no conspiracy. And for many people, that conclusion raises one question above all others: the magic bullet. The Warren Commission's official explanation requires that a single bullet, the first shot, entered Kennedy's back, traveled through his neck, exited his throat, then turned in midair, entered Governor Connolly. Sap, went through his chest, shattered his wrist, and lodged in his thigh. 1 bullet, 7 wounds. 2 separate people sitting at different heights and different angles in the car. And when that bullet was recovered, it was almost completely undamaged. A bullet that had passed through 2 human bodies, shattered a wrist bone, and traveled over 6 feet, was found nearly intact on a hospital stretcher. Ballistics experts who have tested this theory extensively say it is physically possible, but only under a very specific set of conditions, with both men positioned in exactly the right way, at exactly the right angle. Critics say it is impossible, that the trajectory required defies the laws of physics, that a bullet cannot change direction in midair without hitting something. The debate has never been resolved. And it never will be, because the one man who could have been questioned under oath, the one man who could have been cross-examined in a court of law, Lee Harvey Oswald, was shot dead 2 days after the assassination. On live television, in a police station, surrounded by officers, by a nightclub owner named Jack Ruby, who said he did it to spare Jackie Kennedy the trauma of a trial. Oswald never said a word in court, never gave a statement under oath, never had a lawyer present during questioning. The only suspect in the most famous assassination in history was silenced before the case ever reached a courtroom. On Air Force One, the presidential plane sitting on the tarmac at Dallas Love Field, Lyndon B. Johnson was sworn in as president with Jackie Kennedy standing beside him, still wearing her blood-stained pink suit. Kennedy's body was on that same plane. And here is where the first dark legal question begins. Under Texas law in 1963, a homicide victim could not be removed from the state until a local autopsy had been performed. The Dallas County medical examiner attempted to stop the body from leaving. He was physically pushed aside by Secret Service agents. Kennedy's body was taken to Bethesda Naval Hospital in Maryland, where the autopsy was performed by military doctors who had never previously conducted a gunshot wound autopsy. The civilian trauma surgeons at Parkland Hospital in Dallas, the doctors who had actually seen the wounds fresh, were never consulted during the official autopsy. Several of them later said their observations did not match the official autopsy conclusions. Then there are the files. In 1992, the U.S. government passed the JFK Records Act, requiring that all documents related to the assassination be released to the public by 1997. It is now 2025. Thousands of documents are still classified, still withheld, still locked behind government redactions, most of them CIA files. The official reason given is national security. For an event that happened over 60 years ago, every person directly involved is dead. The Cold War is over. The Soviet Union no longer exists. And the government still says not yet. You cannot see everything. Make of that what you will. 60 years of investigations. 60 years of books, documentaries, congressional hearings, independent researchers, declassified files, and forensic re-examinations. And the question that started everything, who really killed John F. Kennedy and why, remains the most debated question in modern history. The official answer is Lee Harvey Oswald. Alone. No conspiracy. A 1979 congressional investigation concluded the opposite, that Kennedy was probably killed as the result of a conspiracy, and that the Warren Commission's investigation was flawed. 2 official government investigations. 2 different conclusions. What I can tell you is this. A president was killed in broad daylight in front of thousands of witnesses. The only suspect was shot dead on live television before trial. The autopsy broke state law. The doctors who saw the wounds were never officially consulted, and 60 years later, the government still will not show us everything. You do not need a conspiracy theory to find that disturbing. You just need to be paying attention. This channel exists to tell you the stories that do not get told completely, the real version, the full picture, every single day. If this video gave you something, a fact you did not know, a question you had not considered, subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss the next one. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers. Every single person who subscribes right now is keeping these stories alive. Leave a comment telling me what you think really happened in Dallas. I read every single one, and the discussion in the comments on this one is going to be something. Next, we go inside the rise and fall of Charles Manson, the man who never personally killed anyone and was still sentenced to life in prison for murder, and the psychological technique he used to make ordinary people commit the most horrifying crimes of the 1,960 seconds. That one is coming very soon. Do not miss it.